Hey there, welcome back to Dandelion Spirit Podcast, the podcast that tries to explore issues about resilience through trauma. I'm your host, Donna, along with my older sister, Jules. And we're doing part 2 of episode 5, Traumatic Intelligence, the rarest form of smart. There's a lot to cover, that's why we split it up. Quick PSA, as always, sometimes our content can be explicit or difficult to listen to, so listener beware. And comment or like this episode and let us know what you think. We're always open to hearing what you have to say. So last week in part 1, we touched on the idea that these two psychologists, Dr. Calhoun and Dr. Tedeschi, decided to analyze a large group of PTSD survivors who grew up with trauma. And they wondered if there were traits attached to them, kind of personality-wise, that had developed because of these early neural connections that forced kind of a different way of development, kind of pushed a different mode of how to cope with certain things or how to understand or kind of feel certain things. And they came up with 10 traits that appeared to be fairly consistent across the board. They call it post-traumatic growth, where the survivor of the trauma continues to grow into their life, their personality, who they are, but things change because of how they dealt with the trauma as a child. So 1 through 5 dealt with a few things about how to read a room quickly and how you notice micro expressions more so than anybody ever even thinks about it. Little things like that, hyper empathy, becoming an extremely good problem solver. So today we're going to finish the list and discuss a couple things. 6 touches on injustice. Number 6 touches on injustice that, like, it'll affect you way more than maybe the average person. Like, it's a very visceral level where you feel the injustice. This person who grew up with trauma will feel music differently. Like, it'll hit you differently. Music has a whole nother level. Your amygdala in the brain becomes, like, hypersensitive, to put it away. You observe the world, but you also feel it very deeply, and you have repeated emotional activation on the brain because of it. So when you, like example, you experience trauma, physically, physiologically, and mentally, it kind of hits you. But emotionally, there's things attached to that as well. So you get in a car accident, physically you might be hurt. Mentally, you're thinking, am I okay? What just happened? But emotionally, you may also be very, very fearful. You could be sad. Like, all of a sudden, this is a bad start to the rest of your life. Who knows? So the emotional attachment that comes with all that physical action and reaction as a kid kind of clicks on and never shuts off. And I think I understand that. I think I understand how when you're trying to figure out dad's mood as soon as he gets home, it's not because you're in survival mode and you want to navigate the next few hours till bedtime without abuse or, lack of food or anything, but you're also feeling fear, and you're also feeling uncertainty, and you're also, all these other emotional type layers. And I think I still feel that sometimes with a lot of situations. Unless, I don't know, is that turning off the brain or not being able to turn off the brain? I don't know. Do you see it in the kids?
Well, I see it differently in the kids. And maybe I'm thinking of it differently, but when I think of hyper empathy, I have some students, not a lot of students, but I have some students that when someone gets hurt or something happens to them, they broke their water bottle or, but they're upset about it. That person, that other student is also crying and upset like they broke their I broke my water bottle too one time, and they're just like completely in sync with this situation. And I'm like, well, honey, you're okay. Your water. I know, but it happened to me before. And a lot of times they're upset along with, now I work with little kids, elementary level, but they're upset as if it happened to them, or they're saying because it something similar happened to them. So they, instead of
Yeah.
saying like I understand and I can relate to you, I have empathy that happened, they're like, "Ugh," along with that other child. And I have to calm them down like it happened to them. Um, Also, some things will trigger them. These kids do a thing called roasting. It's basically verbal bullying. You kind of go at somebody, you make fun of
Yeah.
them, or well then you got to top everybody. So eventually you're talking about someone's appearance, you're talking about someone's IQ, and then you're talking about how they look or their parents. So if their parents have passed away, and that other child has a parent that's passed away, that triggers them.
Okay. Sorry, I figured you would see things differently with the age group of kids you work with. I don't see it so much in adults. I just notice how I react, I guess. My hyper
I think
empathy.
with adults, you could liken it to when mostly women, not all women, respond to like animal abuse. To
Mm,
me, they're often overly empathetic. Like you should have that same level for children and other human beings, but they get overly
right.
empathetic with that. But with kids, yeah, it's a direct, or at least what I experience with them, they'll come in crying. What happened? So and so said you to so and so, you don't have a dad. I'm like, why, baby, why are you crying? I don't have a dad either. Ugh. But and you're like, oh, okay, I guess, so, and some kids have lost parents and are completely fine. Not completely fine, but have
Right.
either have different support or different processing, or they seem to navigate the world better and not be so hinged on the absent parent is also a thing because they're glorified. They're not there, often not there because of sometimes physical conflict, sometimes drug use. Sometimes they're there for not great reasons, but it doesn't matter. They don't have that experience, so that parent is up on that pedestal. But they do
Yeah.
react with certain things when things get broken, stolen, lost. This is very much a bring a toy to school kind of generation all day long. They have
Yeah.
toys and stuffies and blankets and just, oh my God,
Wow.
everything. So if it gets stolen or lost or broken, it's a big deal. And then some of those kids again have that hyper empathy where, oh, my water bottle, and it's, they're crying too. And I'm like, okay. But they're just as deep in that emotion as the person, the student,
Sure.
excuse me, whom it happened to. Now they're sobbing or they need a break and all of it. It's kind of interesting. Like I said,
So,
with adults, I don't really see so
so
much.
do you see it as a lack of regulation or not learning how to yet cope differently? Like it's almost exaggerated empathy for the, or how, what do you think?
Some of my kids are more sensitive. They're on the tism, as they say, or have the tism, as they say, on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But other kids are just, I think it's a little bit of maybe not being able to dialogue about the situation that happened, or maybe that their water bottle got broken, even though they feel devastated by it and all that. The parent may have been like, okay, we'll buy you another one. Like it's not a big deal. But to them, it
Yeah.
was. So they weren't allowed to have that conversation about it. Little things mean a lot to them. And they really want someone to actually listen to them, and I think
Yeah.
as parents, nothing, you get busy. I just give me a minute. I just got home from work. We got to do dinner or we got baseball or whatever. And I get that. But some of that in that dialogue that you have with an adult as a child, hopefully, they're giving you, well, you felt that way, and why did you feel that way? And what could you do next time you feel that way? Or, have some kind, they kind of be able to process things a little bit. It's when they don't get any answers and they're wondering why that
Right.
they drag that issue with them more so in my experience. So, you
Yeah.
know, it depends. I have some kids that I feel like very bulletproof emotionally, but other kids are very emotional about everything,
Right.
but that's personality and maturation and a lot of things go into that.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I
Yeah, every
definitely
day is interesting. Trust me, every day. I see videos all day on different social media with kids are aggressive, crashing rooms, telling teachers F off. I'm like, every day, all day, every day. And I'm at an elementary school.
crazy.
I'm not even at a junior high or high school, and I get it every day. I mean, I literally had two, one's a fourth grader and one's a fifth grader. Uh, were upset with what they were told to do at lunch and didn't like it and confronted the older gentleman that does and then came and confronted my coworker and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to fight you." And I was like, "You guys want to fight an adult? What are you talking about?" Like, but it's some of their stuff is just very unrealistic. I'm just like, really, you're gonna I tell them all the time, these things you're doing, these horrible things that you do, doxing your friends, giving out her number, getting angry at people, spitting on. I said, you will get punched in the face or arrested as an adult. These things are not okay. You
Right.
can't just spit on people. You just can't
Right.
do. Well, I was mad, so I did this, and she said that, so I went and tore her stuff. What are you doing? Like, this retaliatory thing is very strong with them.
Hmm.
Very, very strong. And sometimes you're retaliating against it's your behavior that you need to be held accountable for. Your
Right.
behavior is what the problem is. And you're being told to calm down or go sit over here away from your friends and relax a minute or please stop doing that. Everything. I mean, I saw fifth graders throwing rocks, and they get caught and I saw you throw the rock. Why wasn't Trent? You don't need to have a rock in your hand. Like I've been
Right.
telling you since kindergarten, leave nature alone. No rocks, no sticks, leave my trees alone. Don't pick the leaves off the bushes. Let the bugs do their thing. And,
Oh my God.
but they don't want to, they aren't held accountable for their actions. There's a few that are, but you can't tell me the majority are anymore because of the way they react. They flip out.
Yeah.
They'll even sit and call staff, you're a bitch, you're this, fuck you, motherfucker. And I'm just like, you're in fourth grade. Like, talk to your mom like that, or and the parents don't seem to be bothered by, oh, I didn't like school either, or this or that. That doesn't help me.
That does. Yeah.
You're enabling the behavior, you're approving of the behavior. It's the same thing with engagement. Well, this student's mean to me, so I told him to fight back. Okay, well, your student will also be written up because we don't fight at school.
Because we
Just
don't.
like you don't
Right.
fight in your workplace. So instead of that, why don't you tell them to use their words? Come tell a teacher, move away, do this, but no, they tell them fight them. So then I got that on top of it. Well, my mom said, it's just like, okay.
Great.
So, I
Great.
mean, yeah, it's a push and pull now, where before our parents were a little more with the school. Now it's like the opposite, kind of. It's like
Kind
we're
of
the wrong,
almost.
we're doing everything wrong, or we do this wrong, or it's obviously because of us, or this. And like, well, then maybe it's your kid, but okay.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll see. We'll see them in 20 years and see what happened. Right.
Right. And
Okay. So number 7, genuine. I can't talk. Genuine cognitive responses. You've analyzed, considered pros and cons in your brain.
all
So,
right.
in terms of the analyzing, I know you probably do this too. It's like a survival mode thing. You're um, kind of checking out people and events, kind of analyzing things. Maybe it can be in terms of going somewhere, like going to an event and all that it encompasses and who you're with, or maybe it could just be work day, adapting to something during the workday or adapting to a change. Like we were closed last Wednesday for 5 hours while we finally got air conditioning after 5 years at the pharmacy. Okay, what do you do? I can't, we're allowed to stay clocked in, but can we leave the property? Can we do this? Can we do that? All of a sudden I've got a million questions and I don't want to sit and waste time. So what do I do? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And everyone else is just like, whatever. And I'm like, no, I need to know. So I don't know if that comes from this.
Yeah, a little bit because my scheduling allows me to feel comfortable in what I'm doing, my routine. Although my work is different. Sometimes I come in and I've got 5 subs. And so, the behavior is going to be different. This is going to be different. Or certain people are absent. My coworker was absent Friday. She suffers from migraines. And so she'd kind of been during the week. And then we have this funky cold going around and her son had it. And she's like, yay, my turn. So, that you expect that person to be there, and they're not there. So that happens, but I try to have kind of a routine to things because it's a timing thing with me with energy. It's do I have to sit all day and learn this? Okay, who do I want to sit with then to learn this? Or where do I want to be when I'm doing this? Or if it's everybody together in a staff meeting, da da da. And for me, it's just because some people's energies are more draining than others. I don't know if that's a nice way to put it, but other people you have to be more professional with all the time. Other people you're more friendly with. But it's much easier to kind of know what's expected and the time frame within it because I need kind of times to sit for a minute or do whatever throughout the day. Some days are busy and crazy and all that, but I think it's more of a you sort of can evaluate the situation much quicker and be able to find the information you need to adjust. Where I think other people kind of, hey, did you call them? Do you know what's going on? Or what are you going to do? Are you going to be in your room? What are you doing? Yeah. Why do you always have a book with you? Da, 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 da. Like, okay, if I have to wait for 20 minutes, I'll just bring my Kindle and read a book. Or if I could still read a book, read a book. Or
Right.
any kind of downtime, I usually read. If I'm not reading that, I'm reading stuff on Reddit or I'm reading a news article or, I don't necessarily just go on social media and kind of bounce around. But everyone has their own kind of, but a lot of people just kind of muddle through it. And I think those of us that have had more trauma when things blow up or adjust or change, our brain sits back and there's a different analytical process to it. Because we have to remain safe, we also have to ensure that task is done to remain safe. So you got to figure out, there's a lot of pulling, I remember reading the washer instructions as a kid, I want to say 5 or 6, because I was requested to do my own laundry. So, or I was told to, and you couldn't do it wrong, but you're not told how to do it. At least that's the framing of how we grew up. So I was reading, okay, this is an old washer with an agitator, you put the soap in first, you have the water, and I'm just it's separation for I had no clue how to do any of that, and so luckily I could read, but when things go wrong or things are adjusted or the day goes, crazy, I don't panic with any of that. Some teachers and other staff kind of, but I kind of step back a minute. Okay, what's the priority? What's important? And very quickly I have my action plan and I move forward. But I don't think a lot of people, they kind of wade through it and they go without information, just like, well, I didn't know. And I'm like, well, I prefer to know. Maybe that's the difference. I prefer to have as much of the information as possible, even if I'm not involved in the event. Even if my teachers are doing a professional learning thing or some kind of training, I'd like to know what it's about. I'd like to know where it's at, where they're going to be, how long it's going to be. And I always touch base with my teachers afterwards. I just like to know the moving parts. so that I'm not blindsided by, oh, I didn't know they weren't here to know. I knew they're in a training. I already knew that.
Yeah.
So I know that these kids might, my little handful here might be acting a certain way because they treat the substitute teachers worse than a babysitter. It's just horrible. Absolutely
Yeah.
horrible behavior.
I get that feeling feeling better when you know, because then you don't
Yeah.
freak out.
Having
I'm
the
the one who's never.
information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want the information so that I can help solve the problem and be prepared. Whereas everybody, it's kind of funny. I'll even get teased a little bit at work or whatever. Oh, you work at a pharmacy. What's the big deal? Well, sometimes it's pretty serious. There's a lot of legal ramifications for things. There's a lot, and sometimes all of a sudden, everyone will look at me. What do we do?
Oh, yeah. They all come to me too.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is what we do.
But if they don't like my personality, I mean, I'm professional at work. I'm not rude but I'm direct. And it's hard for the younger people. Very hard. So hard. But yet when it comes time to need to know or whatever, they come to me because I usually, also, if we're in the middle of a drill and something's going sideways, I can immediately shift over or grab an IA. I need you over here. This is going on. Da, 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 da. How do you, oh, okay. Like, I don't have any problem with that where they get I didn't know what to do. And I'm
Yeah,
like, well, next time focus on this. Next time focus on this, or make this your priority. Or you're a Skia, which is a one-on-one person.
yeah,
That child's your priority. Focus on that child. This will be handled by this. And it's just, I mean, part of it is I have the experience and all, but they just don't really, oh, I never thought about that. And I'm like, you should think
you
about,
should.
but that's just
I'm,
how I guess I think. I think beyond the borders of what is required or
I,
beyond, what could happen if this or what could happen if that. And a lot of them don't think that way. And then if that does happen, they're freaked out because they don't know how to deal with it. They
right.
can't even take a minute and be like, okay, we need to do this. They're just freaked out.
Very much so. Probably why I'm good with emergencies, medical or otherwise, because I can assess quickly, but I can calmly think through steps. Whether
Right.
they're right or wrong doesn't matter. As long as someone's thinking through something, that person has a chance of survival. So I know
Right.
it's kind of a weird way to think about it, but it's true.
No,
You know,
yeah.
you're never going to remember every single thing you learned from the nurse when you got certified in
Right.
CPR.
But
But
you
if you
need all
remember
those
one,
pieces. It's just like when I do conflict resolution. Well, who else was there? So and so. Get him over here. Get him. I can have 9 kids in there, and then one at a time. And they always say, but Miss, I said, wait, just a minute. I need to see what happened by listening to you. So you need to tell me your story, your story. And then sometimes the person involved, shall we say, the student involved, their story's completely different because then again, we don't want to accept responsibility. But I get a better idea when I
right?
talk to everyone involved and get all those pieces of information. And it's the same thing with working or doing anything else. Do I need to know all that? No, but it helps me. And having a relationship with custodians helps me. Knowing their duties and how they function helps me. Knowing that, it's
Sure,
kind of like it doesn't hurt anything to reach out a little bit more and understand, and then when things go down, I don't get emotional or crazy.
right.
I'm like, okay, what is our priority here? This is this. We remove these kids. Do we do this? We do, or whatever it is. And the teachers are often, the newer teachers anyway, are like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, oop, that was handled. I'm like, yeah, we're not trying to disrupt the class this whole time. I'll remove them. This is da da da, or, whatever. But even when things are crazy or we have a situation where accidents happen and the students kind of freak out or,
Yeah,
I can get them calmed down quickly. I can get that, like, even if, we didn't plan on that. Okay, obviously we didn't, but now the teacher needs to be with this student, escort him to the nurse. This is going on. I take the class. I don't freak out or anything. I'm just, okay, let's go do this. I pull them out and do whatever. But if you're not calm, they're not going to be calm.
they're not going to be
So,
calm.
I tell people when you're upset, you need to take a moment, even when you're dealing with other adults. If I'm dealing with other adults and I'm like, oh my God, this is going on and I don't know what okay, I need you over here. They'd be like, whoa, 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 what's happening? So you have to be calm anyway, I think, but a lot of people can't seem to find that spot in the midst of what's happening.
Exactly. That's very true. I feel that for sure. And I am definitely always one of the most calm people in the room when
Yeah,
stuff like that
absolutely.
happens. Always, always.
Yeah,
I
same.
don't, panicking gets me nowhere. And it served me well not to panic my whole life,
Yeah.
right?
And when
So
you're panicking,
I
then
get
you're
that.
shifting into fight or flight. So you're not really processing anyway in critical thinking. You're just freaked
Right.
out, you know? So that doesn't help. If I have a younger kids and then an adult who's freaked out, doesn't,
No,
you know,
that's a horrible hurricane.
doesn't do well.
Yeah.
So,
Um, Number 8, they found that people obviously do not trust easily. Trust is very profound when you do trust. You have developed adaptive skepticism. Not all signs of safety are genuine. Your brain develops complex filters and you become unusually resilient to a fault. I do like the term adaptive skepticism because
bullshit filter.
it's kind of like my shit shield is up, you know,
Yep.
and I, I'm I'm not judging. It's not a judge thing. It's a very much reciprocal. Be at my level, or I'm never going to trust you. I have to learn a little more. I'm not going to just randomly give you trust right away. I need to kind of take in the information, and if you're offering me a safety line, it better fucking be a safety line. If it's
Mm.
not,
I
we're gonna.
usually plan my own safety line.
Well, yeah,
I don't
I
rely
mean,
on people very well. It's a horrible thing to say, but I
no,
don't.
it's
Most
true.
people are not very reliable when it comes to that. Trust wise, I'm also the same, which is not very nice either, but you really have to show me. You can run your mouth all day long, but you have to show me an actual working parts. Um, and I'm not perfect. I mean, but I've had people surprise me. But once I know, also, I'll hold them at that arm's distance. I can still have a relationship with you and we can still be somewhat friendly and all that, or even very friendly, but I know who you are better. So I'm not going to let you, I don't let anybody come in and disturb my peace and drama. It's not worth it to me. So, and work wise too, if I'm going to work with a bunch of people and you're going to consistently seem to not be able to do your job or not be able to make the meeting or not show up and do, or and I get we get busy, I get this and that, but you know, I'll tend to kind of I'll keep them in the information loop, but I won't include them in the action plan
But no,
because you don't do what you say you're going to do, and I need you to do that. You know, you're an extension of what I'm doing. You know, you're facilitating me and I'm facilitating all these teachers, so it has to be a working thing.
it can be simple too. I notice, like, for example, being a manager before, I'm trusting you to show up on time because your tardiness affects everybody down the line throughout the day. So
Well,
I'm not being
that's a
nitpicky.
new thing for this newer kid. They want to
I know. I know.
show up when they want to
I,
show up.
I know. But that's just a minor, that's also kind of a trust thing, even at a basic job
It
level.
is. It
So
is.
not only can I not trust you to show up on time, but I can't trust you to really listen to me or follow training or wait, now you want to be friends too at work? It's not going to come easily from me, that's for damn sure. And I'm not going to listen to words over and over and over and
I'll be
over.
nice to them. I mean, I have an IA I worked
Sure.
with that did not do what I needed her to do and did a lot of shenanigans about it, in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of people that avoid work at work. I don't know. Anyway, I tell them if you do your work efficiently, you'll have pockets of time that you can rest or do this or that. But anyway, I'm very friendly to her, but I basically went to my boss and said, yeah, nope, this is not the one. And she said, yeah, but I said, this is not the one to do the job. So she's been shifted into a different role that she seems to like better and does okay with. And I have someone else in that role because with my job, it's a lot of data and documentation. So much. So, and it
Yeah.
has to be done properly. It has to be done concisely. It just has to be. It can't be loosey goosey. Oh, I think I remember when that happened, or this or that, or, or she would also make a note of observation like the students at lunch right now. No, honey, you're supposed to be with him at lunch observing. Okay. Um, you know,
Yeah.
so, and initially she was like, oh, you can trust me to do. And I was like, you know,
Oh
she's
boy.
very nice and she's got great qualities, but for what I needed her to do, it just wasn't, she just couldn't seem to do that. I don't know if she didn't want to do it originally and just said she would, or she didn't know how. And she brought that up too, but she'd had training, I don't know what the deal was, but so we lost a whole week of documentation, basically,
And
and
that's
then she would pop in to see a friend and she'd be gone for an hour. And, I mean, at school, it's kind of easy to do. Sometimes they'll call me, where are you? And, oh, I'm in kindergarten, or I'm in TK, or
yeah.
I'm over here in fourth grade, or I'm down at the playground, or I'm at PE, or, there's times I'm all over campus. There's times I'm very much in my room dealing with things there, but I tend to move about the campus. So I get that she might not be, but if you're supposed to be observing a child and documenting, you probably should be where the
Prob
kid
Yeah.
is.
You need to be able to trust that she's actually doing it. Make your
Right.
job
So
easier,
her
not
initial
harder.
statement of, you can trust me to do that, I was like, well,
Yeah. Let's not start with that. Right.
right.
Okay. Number 9, you have a complex relationship with rest and calmness. Raise your hand. Yes, me. When you do, your mind wanders inward and it becomes very uncomfortable. It becomes very hard to claim rest. You have a heightened sense of unsafe. Your nervous system is doing what it was conditioned to do. It can be hard to calm down. You're trying to tell the brain through rest that the threat has passed. No, it hasn't. That's the first thing I say to myself sometimes. If it's too quiet and I'm not doing a normal meditation, I'm like, what the hell? The tape is running extra fast. I can't shut the brain off. I can't just let things go. I hate it when people say that, actually. I don't,
Perseveration, though, is common.
yeah,
I
rest
mean, there's two
is,
different kinds that I'm familiar with, but
I just think that this makes sense to me because rest has an element of vulnerability to it and of,
right.
so if, and a little bit of selfishness attached to it, me
Probably
time or,
selfishness. That's self-care, though. That shouldn't be selfish.
yeah, but we never got self-care. So it would, I want to
Right. We
spend,
don't know what that looks like, but you learn slowly to kind of try
yeah,
to take care of yourself.
I do, I do what I know I should do, a decent diet and walk every day. But I also try to do what I want to do, which I realize is my way of finding some rest and calmness. I force myself a little bit, like follow that gut feeling to go out to the lake today and just sit for an hour and read, or
Oh, absolutely.
you just stay in
I
bed.
block in that time, though. I block in time. I read every day. That's something that I decided last year, and so I read every day. I make sure there's a half an hour, at least 20 minutes, a half an hour in my day that I can sit down and read. Ideally, I'd like to read at least a chapter of my book, whatever I'm reading, but sometimes and other times I have more time. It depends.
Yeah,
That's why I like to bring my books along with me, so to speak, if I have downtime. But I block off time, and if people invite me to things or there's events, I say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy." And later, one of my coworkers like, "Girl, you weren't busy." I said, "I needed to stay home, though. I needed to be home. I needed to have a slow morning. I needed to just kind of do this or that. I got laundry or what." I said, "I just needed a day that was very kind of not asking anything of me." I go, because the other days I'm just on and cracking, and always Saturdays seem to be very
yeah,
busy too. I usually work Saturday school and this or that, but you know, and it's the same thing with school. We have breaks, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, you get time off." I need the time off.
yeah,
I need a day or two where I kind of don't do nothing that kind of you know, for me, that's how I manage it. I said other people are different. I meditate in the morning, I walk, I do this or that. But for
I
me, it's
swim.
those pockets of time that allow me to read my book a little bit or allow me to sit or yeah, my scheduled plan is the hockey playoff game or whatever. That's what I enjoy. So yeah, I want to sit and watch the game or
Yeah,
whatever. Um, but
I do that too. I mean, the swimming for me is that like you're not going to interrupt me 4 times a week when I have the chance to swim. It's my time, and it is
right.
restful. And it sounds weird because it's an athletic, activity, but swimming for me is restful. It's quiet. You can't really hear anything. You can kind of zone out a little. You can have a little therapy
You
session,
go
whatever
into the
it is.
flow of the rhythm of the physical. Yeah, I get that. I wish I could run like I used to. I used to be kind of a runner. Um, and that's what the running does. The walking does it for me as well. I don't walk really slow. I kind of walk at a brisk pace.
Yeah,
And the rhythm of it, it to me it's soothing. To me it's
very,
kind of calming,
very
to do that.
Yeah,
It's very
it's
much so.
very soothing for me too, just the water in general. And knowing that I don't have to talk to someone or I don't have I like it. Like I don't think I could have a walking partner or something. They'd want to talk. And I'm like, I don't want to talk.
Well, my dog don't talk back, so she
Well,
works
see,
good.
there you go. There you go.
Well, and my beadwork too, which is kind of the other side of really being physical, allows me to calm and focus and tapping into my creativity, whether you think I'm a great artist or not, or whatever. My that for me is important, and I like it and I enjoy it. And yes, I get frustrated at times, but overall, it's soothing to me. It's enjoyable for me. I like making certain things, or, my grandkids will ask me for something specific, or a coworker will ask me for something. Please make me a lanyard or something. But it's
Yeah.
enjoyable to me. It's very much something that I like to do, and I pocket time for it.
I do.
People are like, you're not gonna come over. Well, I don't want to go over there and hang out with people
No,
that drink when
no,
I don't really drink and out in the heat or whatever or certain people that I know are gonna have more drama, and I've
right,
had enough of their drama, and and they kind of go, man, and I'm like, but then they come to my house for a barbecue. My house is very chill. My house is very quiet, relaxed. We just talk and hang on the porch, and it's different vibe, and they kind of get in. They see that, and I tell them I can go somewhere else to engage in something more lively, but
sure,
often I said, my work is enough. I get yelled at work, and I get, all this is going on at work for 6 hours a day. I said, so when I come home, I don't want to get yelled at. I want it to be
right,
chill. I don't even turn my TV on until usually if a game comes on at 5 or 6 o'clock at night. But on the weekends, often I don't even turn the TV on at all. I record things I want to watch. I
yeah,
have a DVR, so I can watch them whenever I want. I don't have to be there at a certain time. Um, but that perplexes people too. But I find the noise irritating. I
hmm
don't need the noise. People like the noise, but I prefer not to have it. So it's
It's like
interesting,
it's like
the
noise
what
pollution.
overstimulates or stimulates or
Mhm. To me, it's
exactly. And when you have a hard time, like you do, have a harder time finding that pocket where you're calm and safe and comfortable, that's where the perseveration comes in. You're overthinking. I tend to do overthinking as well. But my kids have it too. There's some kids that are stuck on maybe the fact that mom and dad separated, and it's been a while now. We've year and a half they got divorced. But they come in upset and what's wrong? I'm tired, and I wish my mom and dad were still back together. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like that's still rummaging around in there. And like for me personally, it's been about canceling out what I hear from childhood, trying to get rid of that voice telling me I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm whatever, because it was so all the time that, I'm glad I never really fully drank the Kool-Aid on it, but it still affects you, you know.
sure.
it's still, you still hear those voices, you still hear, because it was all the time. And, I've done a better job at pushing that away and dealing with that. But it's still those things that, and then you become occupied with what you're thinking. You kind of double down on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
exactly. You need to heal from that and move on. Well, for me, that's never happened. Instead of just moving on, I've tried to learn ways that compartmentalize it better for me in a safer way, in a calmer way. And that helps. That makes me feel better. That makes me feel like I'm dealing
Right.
with it
I had to do the
instead of,
same thing. I always explain it to someone if they've seen the movie Dreamcatcher or read the book. He goes through a traumatic brain injury and has to store memories differently and this and that. It's more complex than that. But basically, I told them I had to amputate my parents. And they're like, yeah, but no, literally, emotionally, and because of the way what was going on, it was, I had to. And so I had to kind of move things. Otherwise, I would become overly upset over it. And
right,
it wasn't going to change anything. It wasn't going to make my mom love me or engage with me or accept, or it wasn't going to do anything. I had to step back from that and be like, okay, this is just how it is. And let me take this and put this over here and process this in this way and do this in this way. And, some of it too has been that I work with children. So I see it as there was never that, really never that person for me in school that I
that
could
person.
talk to or deal with. And in the way that I situate myself in this school, you can come take a break and be sad and talk to me about it. Or I can sit down on the bench and talk to you. And just talking to someone often helps. And we
Hmm.
had no real kind of feedback from anybody. We dealt with what we dealt with. So I look at it kind of as, well, no one was there for you, but you're here for them, kind
Right.
of thing. But yeah, you have to take some of those things and kind of put them in a jar on the shelf, and for lack of a better way to say it, because it wasn't positive. It wasn't, people are like, oh, you can't talk about your mom like that. And I'm like, well, she was not a nice person.
Right.
So I think I can talk my mom about, like, what do you mean? Like, she wasn't a loving, caring, I didn't have the same kind of mom you did.
Right.
So, I mean, people don't understand that at
No.
all
And I'm
whatsoever.
not gonna sugarcoat it either. I tried to do that for a while because I thought it maybe reflected on me, and then I realized no, didn't have a good mom. End of discussion. Not the
Didn't
same
really have a mom at all.
at all. At all.
She
No.
wasn't there to guide us through,
Anything.
well, any parenting. They weren't really involved in parenting, but any type of, I mean, as young girls, you have issues. I mean, you need a bra and you start your period and you have all these things, and they just didn't want
Give a
to. I
shit.
mean, I don't know how we were supposed to just get along without it, or I don't know. I still kind of perplexed by some of that, but I mean,
Yeah, I'm still kind of like, what? I still just kind of stop once in a while, especially since I work with children as well and how careful I am, even how my hands are positioned in the water during a lesson and I have to engage physically with the child. Parents sitting on side of the pool can see my hands. They're never
right,
hidden underwater. They're never, I
right,
think of all that stuff.
right,
The girls on my swim club will come to me about, I'm like, okay, I understand I'm your coach. You got to communicate with your coach, but you have a mom, right? So I'll be the mom. I'm sorry. And, I get
yeah,
that for sure. But anyway, um, number 10, you have an intense, quiet, unshakable sense of meaning. Yes. You have refused to let every pain be meaningless. Boy, did I fall down the rabbit hole for 35 years with that. Why? Why? And there's no answer to everything. Sometimes you can figure it out. But the meaningless, attaching every pain, trauma, you know, crying fit, whatever. Like, why? why do I have to go through this? Did I really not learn that lesson? Did I really not empathize enough? Did I really not understand? So I got to go through it again? I don't understand. But I know as a child, the bar kept constantly moving for us. We could never do anything right. And we
Right.
could never kind of balance out that equation, right? So
Right. Even if
that I
you met the whatever the bar was set at, even if you met that, they'd be like, "Oh, but," yeah. And I'm like, "Where, really?"
yeah,
So
constantly
you
change.
could never, they could never be proud of you. They could never be, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess. I
I mean,
mean,
even as simple as like, "Oh, you did all your chores. Thanks, honey." You
yeah,
miss
no, thank you.
No,
It was
never.
more like, let me go check.
Yeah,
Let me go
never.
put a white glove on and see if you really dusted. Let me go look at the yard. And it was a odd, if one of the dishes was dirty, why am I washing every dish in the
In
cupboard?
the cupboard. I never understood
What?
that either.
And I never learned how to wash dishes at home. I learned in home ec. All right. Well, I learned by myself and then fine tuned it in home ec. But I mean, I never had anyone say this is how you should wash dishes or this is how. I never in a million
Yeah,
years.
no,
Like,
never. Talk about
just
learning
figure it
on the
out.
fly for most of your life. Literally, kind of, you're 22 years old with a brand new baby, and you're like, well, I guess I'll just figure it out. I mean, it
Yeah,
was,
because there was no mother there during pregnancy. There was no mother there during, I don't want to say birth, but at that time of birth to
right.
help or, I mean, I struggled with my first son because everyone was like, you have to breastfeed. It's the best thing. And I'm like, okay. And we had such a hard time. And I had she's like, well, your mom. I'm like, my mom's not. You have an aunt. No. She's like, okay, you're on your own? Yeah,
Yep.
100%. So I had no one to show me a different way to hold the baby. I had no one to, nothing, none of that,
Yeah.
and people are, well, call your mom. I'm like, and then what? Like, my mom, like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
think,
I
you
had
know,
3 kids. You had 3 kids. Mom and dad never babysat my kids.
no, they
Never
never,
offered. Never said, okay, sure, if I happen to ask. Never, you know, I think about some of the times Sigourney had to get dropped off or something for whatever at mom and dad. She was 4 and she took care of shit. They
yeah,
didn't. They would even leave and go somewhere, and she's 4. Dad fell on the dining room floor from a diabetic attack. I think his sugar was like 48. Sigourney was 5, 4 or 5. She called 911
yeah,
and talk to the paramedic. Not mom. Like, what the fuck? So,
yeah.
yeah, it's literally learn on the fly through your entire life, and maybe you'll teach your kids better or
And all
something.
of that made no sense because all we were told was you're going to get married and have babies and you don't need to go to college and you don't need, this is your role. And I was like, what do you mean this is like I don't
Yeah,
know, you know?
antiquated
But
bullshit.
yeah, when we had kids, it was like this immediate, like, I don't know, we didn't have kids right or I don't know. I don't know.
I never
But
figured
the
that out
lack
either.
of involvement with them, and then mom would always call my grandkids. Oh, those are my grandkids. No, those are my grandchildren. These are your great grandchildren. You didn't engage with your grandkids. They're adults now. Oh, no, no. Yeah, no, you don't even know them. Like you have no clue about them. You just, I don't know. So it was
Absolutely.
odd to me. I was like, you don't want to be involved with them or what, and then when they lived here in California, everybody lived here. I mean, our brother lived here, you lived here, my children live here. We have a cousin down in was Pasadena-ish area, da da da. And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go home," and just gone,
Yeah.
And then it's like, "Well, you guys don't write us. You guys don't.
Yeah.
Not like you write me. You don't send me a birthday card.
Right.
You don't send me a Christmas card, or like." But I'm
Mom used
supposed
to
to
say that
work at
stuff.
keeping in touch with you. It's just odd to me the way that
Yeah,
everything went down.
the grandparents never visited. I'm not going to visit you. Why aren't you visiting me? I'm like, no, I thought the grandparents were the ones who traveled and visited the grandkids, right? That's what my
I have
friends' parents did.
Right. I have many, many friends who's now that they're grandparents or grandma, or they go on the vacation with the
With,
family. And then you obviously you guys, we're going to Hawaii. You're going to go do this and scuba dive. Well, obviously the baby can't scuba dive, so then the grandma takes them and then we do something different or we just play at the beach or we do, and I
yeah,
was like, oh, that's cool. Like,
right.
hmm.
I don't
But
know.
I'm like, they were not involved. And when I had cancer and I went and talked to them about that, they acted very odd and very strange. And I was kind of like, what is going on here? And at the end of it, she's like, so you're not asking us to take the kids? I said, no, I'm letting you know that she's like, okay, we thought you were wanting to take the kids. And I was like, what? The whole time I'm talking to you about, you're worried that you're going to, I mean, it was
Yeah.
like, why'd I even
Well,
bother?
welcome to the Leeds family. Fuck, man.
Why'd I even bother? Yeah.
Yeah, don't even bother. But
She also asked me
anyway,
where I got the cancer. Like,
well,
doing something is what gave me the cancer.
me too.
What? Like, this
Yeah.
is,
She said the
I don't
same
know.
thing to me. I'm like aisle
That makes
five Walmart. I
no,
don't know what the fuck
like
you.
we purposefully did, like, I don't know, like she thought drug use caused cancer. I mean, the way that you know, it's like when I had issues with my Mac Gen and I called her and like, okay, who else has Mac? Nobody, nobody. I said, well, I'm having issues and, I don't know why and then I find out my own father has Mac Gen. I'm like,
Thanks,
lady,
mom. Lady.
yeah,
Yeah. What the fuck?
live on the
So,
river of denial. Ew.
yeah. So basically, what these psychologists found was, you're someone who learned wisdom earlier than most, and it obviously, developed into some serious brain function too. The human brain is not simply damaged by hardship and trauma. It is also in very specific and they found measurable ways transformed by it. So they actually did brain scans and stuff as well for some of this.
Yeah, it kind of rewires things.
It's totally, yeah, a rewiring. It isn't something to celebrate at the expense of acknowledging the difficulty that created it, right? The sharpness was real, but so was the loss, or the cost, I'm sorry. Very much there was a cost to it, they found in all of their subjects. Trauma doesn't only wound people, it heightens them. The prefrontal cortex and the amygdala are engaged earlier than should be, literally, being wired early on to detect signals. Pattern recognition is everything from micro expressions, like we talked about earlier in part one, on people to basic energy and mood. So you are literally wired differently at a very young age, and then it continues. It's a
Yeah,
spiral. It's a snowball that just keeps growing into who you become and how you look at things in the world and how you act and react.
yeah,
So next time
I
you notice,
agree.
yeah,
Yeah, I
so,
liken it sometimes to kind of like street smarts. Kids
hmm
that grew up in big cities and that they're more aware, they're more conscious of who's around them. That they had to be, they had to learn, they had to ride public transportation, they had to,
yes,
get from here to there. And people are like, I said, well, that you learn to pay attention to different things. I said, and trauma does the same thing. I said, it really does. It's funny though, I have learned that you have to go through quite a few therapists though that can relate to you or really understand. A lot of them don't understand. They went to a really nice high school, they had decent parents, they went to college. So this is really interesting. I want to do this and help people. And then you talk to them about things and they're just like,
whoa,
and I'm like, well, you're the one that's supposed to help me navigate this. And you're processing what I'm telling you. I even had one therapist tell me, I just don't think I can hear anymore. I'm like, what?
yeah.
Okay.
My doctor at the VA, the one doctor I had, you're stressing me out just talking to me. Hang on a second. I was like, what? But we only have 30 minutes on this video chat. And she's like, hang on, Donna. I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck do you say to that? So, yeah, next time you have an emergency or the house is burning down and the one friend you're with is calm, there's probably a good reason why they're calm. Take
I've
it.
also been able to look at kids and know something's going on at
Mm,
home, and then slowly talk to them a little more, and then,
yeah,
figure it out, because I can tell by their body language or something or something. It's like, reminds me
processing.
of,
They're
yep,
processing something differently.
yep,
Yeah. Oh, we're special. But thanks for joining us. We will see you next time. In the meantime, remember to make today your peaceful day.
protect your spirit.
As always, bye for now.